Thank you so much for joining us today, Kaiser University Multidisciplinary Center, as we present today's webinar, Self-Advocacy, Preparing for Life After High School, presented by Cheyney Cushing and Rita Ellis.
Good afternoon, this is Cheyney Cushing. I am a school liaison, and we want to thank you for joining us today.
And I'm Rita Ellis. I'm the instructional specialist at KUMDC. And again, thank you for joining us. So some of today's topics that we're going to be discussing are self-advocacy and kind of what students and our kiddos need to know after high school, like paperwork, basic personal information, things like that. We're also going to introduce you to a wallet card and some famous people who have disabilities as well. And we're going to provide you with a couple of helpful websites that you might want to go to.
So self-advocacy is recognized as the ability to speak and act on behalf of oneself or a cause. Self-advocacy is an important skill that students use in their youth and throughout life. Self-advocacy skills include being assertive, knowing one's rights, negotiating and speaking up for oneself or a cause. And that definition comes from Project 10. You can find more information on their website about self-advocacy and a lot of other topics that we're going to be speaking about today. So most of us started early with experiences and ideas about what to do when we were older. Yet many of us still didn't know what we wanted or what we were good at. So students need to start early to figure out what future they can have and to take advantage of training that may be available. All students are going to learn in different ways and therefore advocate for themselves in different ways. And the more skills we can help them to gain, the more independent they're going to be.
So Cheyney told you a little bit about why we want to teach our kiddos about self-advocacy, but now let's look at some of what they need to learn in order to know how to self-advocate and what to advocate for. So one of the things we want to teach them how to do when advocating is to be assertive and to utilize effective communication. That doesn't mean that it has to be verbal communication. It could be written, it could be a picture exchange system, it could be using a communication device. We want to teach them how to negotiate for themselves and how to compromise, because we all have to compromise in our lives sometimes. One of what we want to advocate for, what we want them to advocate for is their rights. So under IDEA, they're covered while they're in high school, but once they leave high school, they're going to need to know more about ADA and what their rights are under ADA. We want to educate our kiddos about their responsibilities. So in their community, their civic duties, even family obligations, and in their workplace, their responsibilities there as well. A good resource for teaching self-awareness and self-advocacy is the Me curriculum, which is available for free from the Zero Center for Learning Enrichment, and that's at the University of Oklahoma. And we'll provide you with the web link at the end of this webinar, so don't worry about writing that down.
So after high school, of course, as Rita mentioned, there's a lot of changes. Services that students are entitled to while in school are not readily available as the student is now an adult. Many of the services a student may have been receiving will need to be reevaluated through Medicaid or through other insurance companies. So education looks different. IEPs are no longer used. The purpose in school is to ensure that students receive services needed for an effective education. But if a student attends college or another post-secondary program, there's a disability services department that they'll need to go to and find out more information about the services they might be able to receive. The law that's going to help, as Rita mentioned, is ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act. And you have to ask for your accommodations. This is called disability disclosure. So you might need to speak with your teachers about what sort of services you need, and then speak with the disability department about that. So funding for additional services is also a little bit different. You know, in school, in K through 12 education, you might receive speech, you might receive behavior services, but as your child exits that system, or as you exit that system, those aren't always available, and they have to be funded through different sources, such as private insurance companies. If a student enters the work world, it's best to connect with an agency who can assist with advocating for him or her. Vocational rehabilitation is probably one of the biggest ones you'll hear about. And there are different vendors through VR that can help students with employment options. If the student has documentation of a serious disability, it's possible for him or her to apply for Social Security. He or she will be able to work, and if they're already collecting SSI, when they turn 18, new paperwork will have to be submitted to reevaluate his or her needs at this time. So as you can see, there's a lot of changes when a student turns 18 or exits the K through 12 system that need to be thought about, and students need to be able to advocate for these needs as they enter the adult world.
And also, as a student leaves high school, there are going to be many situational changes throughout their life. And one thing they want to make sure and do is have paperwork on hand that's going to help them document their disability and the assistance that they might need. Some of the things that they need to save are their transcripts from high school, a copy of their latest IEP, their summary of performance as they graduate, their diploma, of course, but also all evaluations that have been done in the last few years by speech, occupational therapist, physical therapist, or psych evals. And remember that old paperwork is much better than no paperwork at all. So put it in an envelope and save it forever.
So some basic personal information that you want students, or if we're thinking about your child, your young adult, or if this is you as a self-advocate, some things you want to remember. Your birthday, you want to know in words, but you also want to be able to know those numbers. So if your birthday's in July, you want to know 7 for the month, because a lot of paperwork is going to require you to write it that way. You want to remember, of course, your address and phone number, and your name, the name of your parents, school, and teacher. You want to be able to name any medications, maybe even remember the dosage and frequency. And you can store a lot of that information in a secured place on your phone or in a card in your wallet. Rita's going to talk a little bit more about that. You want to know your Social Security number and be able to give those last 4 digits. A lot of times when you're speaking on the phone with a bank or with another agency, you're going to need to know those last 4 digits to provide security information. And explain, if you have a card or a bracelet naming your disability, you want to be able to explain or point to the fact that you have something like that will explain more for you. And sometimes students aren't going to be able to maybe speak about these things in vocalizations, but they might be able to write it down, or they might be able to provide some paperwork, or like that last one says, a bracelet or a card that has information about who they are and some of their important identifiers.
We have a little video now that we'd like to have you watch. It's about making decisions.
Hi, I'm Casey.
And I'm Reese.
We're here to talk to you about decisions.
But what is a decision?
A decision means choosing what you want to do. It's called making your mind up.
Decisions can be small or they can be big.
Sometimes decisions can be so big they need more than one person to help make them.
Let's go to the moon!
Yeah, let's go to the moon!
We're going to the moon!
There are heaps of examples of people making decisions.
We'll go east. We'll go west. We'll go east. No, we'll go south.
He kept changing his mind, but that's okay.
We can all make a decision and change our mind later if we want to.
These decisions are big decisions, but we all make small decisions every day.
I'll wear the blue one.
See, that was easy.
Let's look at some other day-to-day decisions.
Like, what will I have for breakfast?
Decision, I choose toast.
Decision, I choose cereal.
See, people can make different decisions.
I've decided to go to the park, but how will I get there?
Decision, I'll ride my skateboard.
Decision, I'm going to catch the bus.
See, they are day-to-day decisions.
What to wear, what to eat, where to go, how to get there.
But remember, we don't have to make decisions about everything at once.
And we don't have to make decisions on our own.
You can talk to other people because some decisions need thinking and talking about.
That's right. They're what I call big decisions.
Staying at school, is that a big decision?
It sure is. Deciding to stay at school or go to TAFE or somewhere else is a big decision.
What about looking for a job? Is that a big decision?
Yep, looking for a job and going to work. They're big decisions too.
So those decisions need lots of thinking about.
That's right, but we're not deciding anything right now. We're just looking at the choices.
We can think about them and we can talk about them with other people.
Now this is the important bit. Here's what we need to remember about making decisions.
Cool.
I'll say them and together we can repeat them. I have the right to make decisions.
I have the right to make decisions.
I can make decisions.
I can make decisions.
I can learn from trying things out.
I can learn from trying things out.
I can talk to other people.
I can talk to other people.
I can change my mind if I want to.
I can change my mind if I want to.
I can make decisions other people don't like.
I can make decisions other people don't like.
I can make decisions that are different to other people's decisions.
I can make decisions that are different to other people's decisions.
Well done.
It's a lot to remember.
Yes, but you can watch this again or ask someone about it anytime.
I've learnt a lot today.
Well done, Reese, and well done you. That's the end.
But how will we finish the show?
We can decide.
Okay, I like the rocket. Can we end with that?
Good decision.
So if you like this little video and would like to share it with your kiddos, the link will be available at the end of the presentation. So we all make hundreds of decisions each day, but not all of our decisions are big ones. But we want to give our kiddos lots of opportunities to make decisions for themselves, like what to have for dinner, what movie to see, what hobby are they interested in, what do they want to wear to school, do they want to go to the park, what's their favorite color. And there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of decisions that they can make each day. And we want to give them that opportunity to practice, because as we practice making those little decisions, it helps us to get better at making big decisions. Another big thing to remember is to talk out your process of making decisions, so your kiddos can see how the process of thinking about a decision can help them make a decision.
And along those same lines, if we're practicing, we want to make sure that our students are comfortable talking with us. So communication is really important. Whatever mode of communication your student or child uses is what you want them to be able to use when they speak with you or other adults. So that might be verbalization. They might be able to write some things down. They may use an augmentative communication device. They might use sign language or picture exchange even. And we want them to be able to use those things comfortably to communicate with teachers in college or in post-secondary school, where they need to approach their teachers to talk about the help they need. We want them to be able to talk to people in the community, such as help in a store or ordering out at a restaurant or speaking with their doctor about something that's going on. We want them to be able to speak with their work colleagues or their boss and other people that they see throughout the community and on their day-to-day excursions. We want them to be able to be comfortable with speaking with family members. That might not necessarily be parents, but someone who helps them to navigate life. And last but not least, we want them to also be comfortable speaking with friends. We all need friends. We all need people to socialize with. And we want our students, even with significant disabilities, to have friends and people that they can have leisure time with and they can communicate some of those difficult decisions with, because we all have friends that we're able to speak about difficult decisions with, and our kids with disabilities should as well.
Another important thing is we need to teach our students to know when to speak up for themselves. How many of us get unwanted phone calls from telemarketers or scam artists? We need to be able to discern how much information we should give or not give. So it's important that we teach our kiddos how much information they need to give out, especially over the phone. We need to help them understand that it's okay if they set boundaries and to let others know if they've crossed those boundaries. We need to help them learn to say no in a difficult situation. And finally, we need to help them identify someone that they trust, that they can go to when they need to talk or need to ask someone else's opinion.
So work experience, you know, a lot of times when we hear the word work, we think of what things that we do outside of the home, when we go to a business or we go to another place that other people frequent. But skills for a variety of trades can be learned around the house. So cleaning, plumbing, landscaping, all those things that need to be done around our home, you can involve your student in as well. Around the school, talk with school personnel like janitors or lunchroom staff or even the office staff to see if students can be of assistance in any of those scenarios that happen in the school. Community job experiences. Of course, we all want students to be able to work out in the community one day, and the vendors through VR can really help you to navigate those sorts of situations and can provide job coaches and coaching situations for your student to be more comfortable in community jobs. And then lastly, social and club activities can provide a lot of great skills for trades as well. So volunteering clubs, church groups, even leisure activities can provide opportunities for skills and communicating with other people that provide some of that work experience too.
So with our kiddos, it can be hard for them to talk about their disability and to disclose what their disability is or to explain what their needs are. So we need to give them opportunities to practice that. So help them to prepare a brief explanation of their issue or issues and what it is they need in order to overcome their issues. So for example, it could be a statement as simple as, I have blank, so I need blank in order to blank. So here's a few examples. So if your student has a speech disorder, then they could say, I have a speech disorder. I understand everything you say, but my speech is not good and I need to write my answer for you. And you could have this prepared on a card for them that they could share with someone else even. Or I have autism and I understand instructions you give me, but I need more reassurance than others. Or perhaps I have trouble understanding instructions, so I need to use my phone to show me the steps that I need to do. So whatever it is, even if it's a physical request that you had, that your student has. So I have a problem with my hearing, so I need to see your face when you speak to me. So it's a matter of asking for that person to stand in front of them so they can visually see their face. Or maybe they learn more slowly and need more instructions than others do. But once they learn something, they do it very well and may never forget how to do that one thing. So it's just a matter of preparing them to have that simple statement, whether it's in the community, whether it's in their work, whether it's with friends, whatever their situation, but they need to have a prepared way of explaining their issues and their needs so that other people can understand and help them with it.
And at home, we want you to be able to have your student have opportunities to take on additional responsibilities in the home. So as parents, you know, we want to be able to fix everything for our students, as teachers as well. But there's a lot of opportunities where your student can learn key living skills, such as setting their own alarm, making and packing their lunches, taking out the garbage, watering the plants, and a lot of cleaning activities. A lot of these things can provide not only the student with skills, but also provide them with some responsibility that makes them aware of what they need to be able to do to live independently one day.
So one of the things we said we were going to talk about is a wallet card. And this particular card was developed by the Disability Independence Group Incorporated and also with several police departments. And this can be obtained for students to carry, and it assists them in explaining their disabilities. So they can be useful if they end up in a situation where they're uncomfortable or really nervous. Maybe they've been stopped by the police or they're dealing with first responders. The card is a communication tool though, and not an ID card. And the card is meant for young adults and adults that are out in the community independently by themselves. So they need to be able to communicate with law enforcement. And in this particular case, the Disability Independence Group does specify that that is verbal communication with law enforcement and ask permission to show the police their wallet card. And they're in the process of designing a second type of card that's geared more specifically for less independent and younger people, or even for their caregivers who might not be able to ask permission before they show the police their card. But you could write up, even type up something on your computer and put this type of information on it and laminate it and put it in a child's wallet. But if your child doesn't carry a wallet, then you can also order bracelets or necklaces, those types of things. But usually those are not free, they are for sale. And we've included the web link there, but it's also at the end of our presentation.
So some famous people with disabilities, some of these you may or may not be aware of, but the Shark Tanks on the show Shark Tank, 3 out of those 6 sharks, have learning disabilities, and yet they still are great entrepreneurs. Franklin D. Roosevelt, of course, one of our US presidents, had polio and used a wheelchair. So for some of your students with physical disabilities, that's a good option to look at. Michael Phelps, of course, an Olympic athlete, has ADHD. Elton John suffers from epilepsy, and he's obviously a wonderful singer. Marlee Matlin is an actress. She's also deaf. Frida Kahlo is an artist, and she suffered from polio and spinal damage as a child. So she was, I think, had to spend a lot of her time bedridden, actually. Stevie Wonder, of course, a wonderful singer as well, is, as we know, blind. Chris Burke is a wonderful actor with Down syndrome. And then Billie Ellis, a current pop singer, has Tourette's syndrome. So these are just some examples, and there are many, many more that you can find, but it's really important for students, to become familiar with other famous people who have some of the same issues as they do, or maybe suffer from some of the same problems. Students a lot of times can feel like they're really alone, but if we think about some of the people who are in the limelight, who are very famous, they've been able to overcome some of the obstacles because of their disability and still be really wonderful actors and singers and artists and athletes. So these are just some good examples to think about.
Okay, and as we promised in the presentation, if you download it, these links are in there, so you can go there and possibly order wallet cards for your kiddos. The decisions video is there for you to share either with your child or with a classroom if you're a teacher. The Me curriculum is a great curriculum to use, and that's something that could be used by parents and teachers alike. So those resources are part of the presentation for you, so you can explore further. And with that, we would ask if you have any questions for us.